Alright, so here you guys, all of these problems are asking you to find the inverse. Not every problem on the test is going to ask you to find the inverse, but I think if you could do this, you could do the others, right? So let's first switch the x and the y's. Okay? Now remember what we talked about last time? Think about what happens to the y. It gets subtracted by 3, and then what happens? It gets raised to the 5th power, and then what happens? It gets negated. So whatever happened last, you have to undo first. Remember how the whole reverse order thing? SADMAP? So what should we do first? Divide by -1. Okay? So the negative goes away. So it goes to the other side. Negative x equals y minus 3 to the 5th. Now, huh? Over the x? Oh, right. But how do you, but the parentheses, we can't do this. Like,
we're doing SADMAP.
No, you're right. The first thing we would do was parentheses, so subtract the 3. And then the second thing we do is exponent, and then we would multiply. But now that we're doing, oh, my nails are nasty. Now that we're doing it backwards, we have to do SADMAP. The last thing we did was multiply, so we unmultiply by dividing, and then we exponentiate, and then we're going to add 3. Okay, we're doing the reverse order. So now what happened to the y? It got subtracted, and then it got exponentiated. So what do we undo first? Exponentiate. So if I got something to the 5th power, how do I un-5th power it? Not square root, 5th root. Both sides. Okay? So the 5th root of negative, are you allowed to have a negative in the root?
No.
Not in a square root, but you can have it in an odd root. Did you know that? Miss, you guys learned this from algebra 2. No, not the I. No. Okay, look. For example, can I have -4 for a square root? Can you think of two numbers that multiply by itself to -4? No, because -2 times -2 is +4. So that's why for this you would get 2i. Okay? Or you would say cannot be defined by real numbers. But what if it's an odd root? What if I do -8? Wait. Can you think of a number that when you do it cubed, it gives you a -8? -2, because you know what? -2, when it's cubed, it's -2 times -2 times -2. But when you do it to an odd model, it's negative times negative times negative. Negative. So if you have an odd number here, then you can have a negative. Okay? In fact, you could bring it out. Same thing. Okay? Well, we could bring it out, Oscar said. So we can, because why can we bring it out? Well, think about it. No. Okay, if I have the cubed root of -8, we said it's -2, right? Because -2 cubed is -8. But can I just say that's the same thing as the negative of the cubed root of +8? What's the cubed root of +8? 2. So then that gives you -2. So you still get the same answer, you see? Okay? Alright. So I brought it out. So what happens to the 5th root of something to the 5th power? Cancels out. So now what happens to the y? You got subtracted by 3, so how do you undo that? Can I add 3 under the square root, under the root? No. Why would you do that? So y here equals, I'm going to put the equal on the other side, the negative 5th root of x plus 3. It is. Okay, but see, here's the presumptuous part. If you just look at that and you say, oh, that makes sense, I got this, I'm ready for the test, give me the test. Then you're presumptuous. You have to try another one like that without my help on your own and a few times. Then you know you're ready. Just because this makes sense to you now doesn't mean you're ready, right? Okay. All right, number 4. First, we're going to switch the x and the y. So x equals 2 over y minus 1 minus 1. Let's think about this. What happened to the y first? Subtract, because this is what right away you're going to do what? Parentheses, right? So you subtract by 1, and then it divides, 2 is divided by that, and then you add 1 last. So what should we do first? Add 1. Now what do you guys want to do?
Multiply 1 minus 1.
Why? Why?
Yeah,
Yumi's just sitting here like he's at the beach, by the way. He's just... Okay, so y is in the denominator, Raquel. Do we want it in the denominator? No. How do we move it to the numerator?
That's what I don't know.
Well, first of all, if it's in the denominator, we can multiply by y minus 1 on both sides. But what am I missing here? Parentheses. Otherwise, I won't know that's a distribution. Okay, if I do that on both sides, why does that help? Because what happens to y minus 1 divided by y minus 1? It becomes a 1, right? And then I suppose you could say that it cancels out. So now I have y minus 1 times x plus 1 equals 2. Why is that even any better than what we had before? Because now y is not in the denominator, okay? You know what? You might want to distribute, but I say don't distribute because the y's are separate from the x's. Why mix them up? That's just going to make it more complicated. Yeah, I don't want this x here. I want y by itself. So, divide by x plus 1 on both sides, right? What's x plus 1 divided by x plus 1? 1. So then I'm going to get y minus 1 equals 2 over x plus 1. You see that? Now, what happened to the y here? It got subtracted by 1. So how do I undo that? Good. Can I just add the 1 to the 2 and make it 3?
Yeah.
Can I add the 1 down here and make it x plus 2? No. If you want to add, you could leave it like that. Or, if I really want to simplify that or combine that, I have to have what to combine two fractions? Common denominator, so I could do that. Because isn't 1 really the same thing as x plus 1 over x plus 1? So then I would have 2 plus x plus 1 over x plus 1. So then y equals x plus 3 over x plus 1. Do you guys see what I did there to get the common denominator? You know, this looks a lot better to me. I would try to go all the way. Go all the way.
Don't distribute.
No, don't distribute. Well, let's see, what does the answer key say? Okay, fine. Okay. No, over here, don't distribute. Because if you were to distribute, you have the y's and the x's mixed together, and then you have to factor them out again to separate them. The whole goal is to get y by itself. Yes? I like this much better, but since the answer key kept it like this, I guess I'll accept that. Yes?
When we test on this, do you put the inverse of f of x, or do you put y?
You know what? You really should say inverse.
Right?
Yeah. Okay? Other questions? Okay, let's do number 9. Hey, you guys, you should do number 9. Since I told you how to do the other one, do number 9 now. It's very similar. Okay? Everybody do number 9 right now. If you already do it again. Otra vez. Extra sheet of paper.
I don't have a sheet of paper.
That's a problem. There's more than one way to do this one.
Bless you.
little tricky because of the negatives. Try it on your own. I'm going to put my solutions up, but try it on your own.
You already did it?
Yeah. But try to do it without looking. And if you think you got that, don't be presumptuous. Try number 10. Yeah. Oh, well, it is over -1, but most of the negatives are right? Basically, this is negative. So it's because really we divide it and that's Is there a question? Question on this?
The whole thing is negative.
So if it says negative x plus 1, but if you put a negative at the top, then you put it in.
So it would be -1. After you solve
Okay, you guys. Let's move on. I think I had a question for 14 and number 8. Is that right? Any questions on number 9 that we just did? Ooh, if you want me to do 14, let's do 8 first, okay? No? Okay. Número 8. 8. Okay, what? Okay, I'm going to actually call this, instead of calling it y, let's call this h and x. Well, if we switch them, then this is x and h. Okay, so basically x equals negative cubed root of... Okay. What happened to the h first? It got cube rooted, and then it got negated, and then 3 got subtracted from it. So what should we undo first? The last thing, adding 3. So x plus 3 equals negative cubed root of h. So then what happened to the h? It got negated. So what should we do? Divide by negative or multiply by negative. That's the same thing, right? Right? Because if I multiply by negative, then it will become positive. If I divide by, it's the same thing. Okay? So basically, if I divide by a negative, then I'm going to get positive cubed root of h equals negative x minus 3. Actually, it makes easier sense for you guys if I multiply by negative 1. It's the same thing. Okay? So, what's happening to the h now? Cube rooted. So how could I undo cube rooting? Cube both sides. What's h? Cube rooted and then cubed. You get your h back, right? So then I have negative x minus 3 cubed. It's not the answer. So then they want us to do a little more simplifying. Okay? Oh, it is the answer. No, it's almost the answer. Okay, so can I do anything to this? What do you notice about negative x minus 3?
They both have negatives.
They both have negatives. Can I factor out a negative?
Yeah.
So then I get x plus 3. But that whole thing has to be what? Cubed. I think they need your Genesis. I factored out the negative. Okay? And then if I cube both, what's negative 1 cubed? What's negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1? Negative 1. So it's just negative, and then it's x plus 3 cubed. Okay? Yeah, you could take the negative out earlier. Okay? If we can do that, why did I cube it? Because I was supposed to cube both sides. And then if I factor out the negative, that has to get cubed too. Okay, now let's look at number 14. 14 is similar, but it's a little harder.
There's a calculator.
Thank you. Okay, what's the last thing? What's the last thing that happens to my y over here? It got divided by 2. So the first thing I do is multiply by 2. And you know the parentheses should go on this, not really on the 2 as much as the whole thing, okay? So now I got 2x equals, the 2 divided by 2 cancels out, negative 6 minus cubed root of 4y. What's the last thing that happened to my y here on this right side? The negative 6 was the last thing, right? So that's the first thing we're going to do on this side, add 6. So it's 2x plus 6 equals negative cubed root of 4y. What's the last thing that happened to the y over here? The negative. So can I just move it to the other side pretty much? We'll divide it on both sides. That pretty much makes this negative, and this becomes positive. You get me?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I have negative 2x minus 6 equals the cubed root of 4y. What's the last thing that happened to the y? It got multiplied by 4, and then it got cube rooted. So how do I uncube root it? Cube it. What's the cube of something cube rooted? Just the inside, right? So 4y. So now we have, by the way, can we take out the negative?
Yeah.
And then cube the negative, and it becomes negative anyway. So it's just 2x plus 6. Okay? Cubed. And what's the last thing that happened to the y here? It got multiplied by 4. So how do I undo that? Divide by 4. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. So y equals negative 2x plus 6 cubed divided by 4. Does that 4 need to get cubed? No, it had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but the answer that 4 is not there.
Ooh,
I think they factored out the 2.
I think they did. Okay, number 14. Oh, interesting. Okay, just like before when we factored out a negative, is there anything we can factor out of here? Okay, so hold on. This whole thing got cubed though, right? So be very careful. Okay, this is 2x plus 6 that got cubed, right? But 2x plus 6, can I factor out the 2 and make it x plus what? 3? Okay, so who gets cubed? Both of them, right? They both have to get cubed. So the x plus 3 is cubed and the 2 is cubed. So what is 2 cubed? And then what is x plus 3 cubed? It's just x plus 3 cubed. Okay, all of that over 4. Okay, now what's 8 over 4? 2 over 1, right? So I have negative 2 x plus 3 quantity cubed over 1 equals what? Beautiful. Yeah.
I don't understand why we left 3 the same, and why does it 3 get cubed?
Oh, okay. Who was getting cubed? The x plus 3. Okay, let me ask you this very important question. Does x plus 3 cubed, does that mean x cubed plus 3 cubed? Do I do that? No, that's a red flag. Okay, that is not true. What does x plus 3 cubed mean? X plus 3 times x plus 3 times x plus 3, but I don't really need to expand it, so why write it so many times? Just leave it like this, right? Okay. But if I have 2 times x plus 3 and then all of that is cubed, then every product in here gets cubed. Every piece of the, that gets cubed and that gets cubed, yeah? But not these guys, okay? Okay. Anything else on this page? The first answer would not be fully simplified. Like 14. Sure. Let's do another problem like 14. That's a great question. Pretty much, it's like 19. It's like 14.5. Okay, let's do g of x equals the cubed root of x minus 2 minus 1 over 4. Find the inverse. I just made it up because she wanted another problem like it. Oh, but this one doesn't have a nice little factoring out challenge at the end, twist at the end. That's what it is, isn't it? It's a twist. It's an evil twist at the end. Done. Got it? I wish this one had a laser that told me where. Didn't this happen like 2 years ago? Where like I would take a picture of him because he's like literally just sitting doing nothing. Okay. Any questions? Do you guys think this worksheet is the only thing you need to do? What else can you look at for extra practice? Yeah, but Schoology tells us problem set 1 and 2 from your Thanksgiving packet and your test corrections from your Thanksgiving test. Okay? Lindsay asked, did you guys, any questions on how I did this problem? Because the last thing that happened to the y here was that it got divided by 4. So the first thing I do to undo it is to multiply by 4. And then 4 over 4 here will become 1. Yes? Okay. Lindsay asked a very nice question. If I have A over B, if I want to make it negative, where do I put the negative? Anywhere. If I put it on the top, that's the same thing as if I put it on the bottom. And it's the same thing as if I put it on the outside. Okay? When I say put it on the outside though, I mean put it on the bottom that or the top, you have to distribute it to everything on the top. Distribute it to everything on the bottom. Can I put it on the top and bottom? If I put it on the top and bottom, that would do what? Negative divided by negative becomes positive. So that is not the same. Okay? Is that cool? Are there any other problems that we should do?
We do number 19.
Number 19?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, if we stick by the rules, what do we do first? Add 4/3. But you guys, when I see something like this, there's a nice little trick I can pull. There's a, no, 33.33% y minus 133%, no. Okay, do you see how all of them have a 3 right down there?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if I could just get rid of those? Am I allowed to just get rid of stuff though?
Yes.
Only if I do what? Both sides, because then it'll still be equal. What can I multiply to the whole thing? 3. If I multiply the whole thing by 3, then 3x will equal 1y minus 4. And isn't that much nicer?
Most deaf.
Most def. Right?
Yeah.
And then what's the last thing that happened to the y? It's subtracted by 4, so now we got to add 4. So we have 3x plus 4 equals y. And that's it.
So gangster. You could have just taught us that.
I just did. But the other way is easy too. First you would add 4/3 on both sides, right? If you did the other way, you would do x plus 4/3 equals 1/3 y. And then what happens to the y here? It got multiplied by 1/3, so I divide by 1/3. Or better yet, what's a number I can multiply? 3, right? Because dividing by 1/3, right? Dividir por 3 is the same thing as copy, change, flip. Same thing as multiplying by 3, right? Okay. So then I get 3x plus, what's 4/3 times 3? 12/3, which is 4, because the 3 over 3 cancels, right? And so, hey, this is just as easy. Right? I think they're both easy.
What makes I rather be on the safe side and do the long one?
Okay. No, they're the same number of steps. This takes 3 steps, this takes 3 steps.
Yep, I'm more familiar with the other one than I am
Okay.
with the new one.
Let's do, okay, 6. Okay, before I do 6 though, déjame decir que, you guys, I know you guys are really concerned about equation solving right now. Oh, let me use my little handy dandy laser. Equation solving. But tomorrow we have graphing. So just keep in mind to be ready for that. I don't have an extra worksheet for you guys yet. But I need you guys to be on the alert. If you're planning to do graphing transformations, probably by after school I'll have a worksheet for you guys. So come pick it up. Okay? But you guys, I already gave you a lot of worksheets on transformations. Remember that assignment you had to do on Desmos and on your notebook? All of that stuff, you gotta take it seriously, okay? It's gonna be very similar to your Thanksgiving test. en esa manera. You know, if you're gonna retake the parent graphs part, it's literally just gonna be the 4 parent graphs. Okay, look, this is Jesse Cruz. I'm gonna ask you to do this graph. I'm gonna ask you to do this graph the right way. I'm gonna ask you to do this graph and this graph. That's the parent graph test. The transformation test is this part where I give you a fancy one to transform.
Are we gonna transform all 4?
No. No, I might choose, instead of cubic, I might choose something else. Be ready to transform anything in any way. Okay? Okay, and then we'll do 6. Alright, so it could be absolute value. ¿Por qué no? That's the easiest one. It doesn't have any curves. It's straight lines. Okay, so we have x equals 4 over y plus 2. What's the last thing that happened to my lovely y here? It got what added? Or what happened to it? 2 got added. So first thing I'm going to do is subtract. Now when I have y in the denominator, we learned how do we take care of that problem. Multiply on both sides. Does this y get only multiplied to the x? You need parentheses. Okay, so what's y divided by y? 1, right? So 4 equals yx. Oh wait, didn't I say not to distribute? Yeah, that's easier. Because my goal is to get y by itself. It's already by itself. Why mix it up with the x? What do I need to do to get y by itself? Divide by x minus 2. Thank you, Jordan.
See, that follows like this.
What'd you distribute?
Okay, I know. Yeah, that's a good question. Who has their Thanksgiving test?
Miss, I don't know if you guys finished that.
I thought I did. Thank you. You distribute. See, this is when we did distribute because mira. Here, let's do it again, even though I did it like 3 times already. Okay, so I have the y in the denominator. So what should I do? Y minus 1 on both sides. Oops. So I have y minus 1 times x equals y plus 1. But here's the problem. The y's are all mixed up. There's y here and there's y there. So I need to get all the y's on this side and all the x's on this side. But if I want to do that, I do need to distribute. Okay? So let's go ahead, because if I just leave it and divide x over here. You guys could go, definitely.
No, proceed.
No, I know, I'll proceed, but you can go if you don't need to see this problem. Oh, shoot, what am I doing? I'm not dividing. Okay, so I'm going to distribute. Then I'm going to move the y's. Now I have all the y's on one side, but I don't need that x over there. Now I have only y's here, but there's a little x. So what should I do? Factor out the y, pull out the y, then I get what? Now what can I do?
Would it be wrong if I just put that on the test?
Yes, a lot of people did that because, yeah, and I didn't give you the credit.
You put a 0 and a y, and I was like, because I saw that on the test.
On number 18,
Yeah,
the worksheet.
yeah.
Next time you ask, I'm going to say because you told me.
Which one would you do first?
That's not a good reason though.
Yeah, it is.
For 18
Because you're my math.
For 18, that one.
18, what about it?
Would you,
Steven.
would you add the 4 or divide the 1 5?
Well, what happened to the y first? It got multiplied and then it got added. So what do we, when we undo it, what do we do? The last thing was this, so the first thing we do. So you kind of start outside in, you see? whoever's farthest from the y, you know, because we're doing backwards order, so the last thing first. So now what happened to the y? It got multiplied by 1/5, so multiply by 5. Okay, or divide by 1/5 is the same thing.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah. So y equals 5x plus 3.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.